Giving all praise, honor, glory to Yahawah, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, Rakakwadash, the bonus to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and the sincere shalom to the Akim out there pushing the sincerity and the truth and the sound doctrine. Really quick video. This is actually a video put up by Elder
No one wants to fight for Israel.
And I think this is going viral. I've heard something like this, or something circulating this, I think yesterday. Or it might be another video, something including the U.S. Army, the U.S. Marine with a broken arm. Now you can see here, he said no one wants to fight for Israel, and
no one,
yeah, he's had it, man. And you can see the arm snap. Yep, there it is. It broke. Right. Even still, you can see how furious and how mad he is, because he is still, even with a broken arm, holding on to that damn door. He will not let go, and they are struggling to get him to let go. So you can see how things and how spirits are ramping up. Man. I'm coming to show you that when that spirit is taking control, they finally let go. Man. But he's still furious though. He's still pissed off. You know, it comes to show you when spirits take control, you feel absolutely nothing. All right, that comes to show you that we are spirits. It's just that we're just in the shell.
No one,
you know what I mean? You feel what you're allowed to feel pretty much. But once that spirit is taken over, you feel absolutely nothing. Because, like I said, you are your spirit. Once your spirit is roused up, it's going to take a lot to stop you, man. It's going to take a lot to stop you, man. All right. But like I said, and tying that into this topic, you know, a really, really short topic. As I said, it's going to be a really, really short video. And the one scripture came to mind when I saw that. You know, this is a U.S. Marine pissed off at his own country, man. Right? This is 2 Ezra 15 and 14. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein. All right, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up against another with and swords in their hands. Right. So a sword is an instrument of destruction. Right. That's all it is. A sword is an instrument of destruction. So it could be an actual sword. You know, it could be a gun. You know, it could be a knife. It could be whatever. Something that's meant to harm you. Right, is a sword. It could even be doctrine. It could even be words. You got this whole saying, "Sticks and stones may break my bones," or something along the lines of that. I've heard it 1,000 times. I'm sure all of us heard it 1,000 times. Well, words will do that too, right? What you know what I mean? Words will do that too, because the word of the Lord is a sword, but the Lord also made other words swords to certain people, right? Things that trigger you. A trigger is a sword. It is meant to harm you, whether it be your spirit or you physically, or both. Right? Let's go on to 16. And this is the point. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another, they shall not regard their kings nor their princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. Right. So I want to go ahead and get this word sedition. Let's go get this word sedition real quick. This is sedition: rebellion, uprising, revolt, factitious, commotion in the state. Let me get that word. Factitious. Made by or resulting from an art. Okay, artificial. Okay, it makes sense. Elaborate, artistic. So not even really anything. Yeah, this is to make, do, perform. Okay, Gotcha. So like laws and stuff, you know what I mean? Idealistic stuff, cultures and religions and stuff, right? Um, and that's where it says fictitious um, commotion in the state. So, like I said, laws. This guy is dealing with laws, and stuff like that. Concerted attempt to overthrow civil authority, violent strife between factions, civil or religious disorder, riot, right? Rebelliousness against authority. This is only going to escalate to those last few things that we just read out. Overthrow civil authority, which is already happening in some other countries. You don't think that stuff is going to creep over here? People are already starting to rebel against Trump. You already know it's going to be a big. There's already protests against him, man. There's been protests against him. So we're already at the state of the overthrow or civil authority part. Violent strife between factions, yeah, we're pretty much in that, but that's going to escalate. Civil or religious disorder, we've been in that, right? But like I said, these things are going to escalate on a very, very high scale level. You don't see something like, I don't know what is going on with this. Yeah, you don't see something like this every day, man. You really don't. Be honest. Be honest with yourselves, man. For all you people out there that love saying, well, we've been through this before. We've been through this before. Well, I mean, how many times do you see stuff like this? You know what I mean? You don't see stuff like this every day. You don't. Be honest. You don't. Right? Civil disorder, dissension, strife, rebellion, mutiny, or going apart, separation. I've heard, and I'm sure all of you have heard, several people say that America is falling apart. Like I said, I'm sure a good number of y'all heard that America's falling apart. So this is the exact definition of sedition. So there's going to be sedition among people, men, and invading one another, right? And when this happens, you could say sedition among, for all you technical people out there, you could say sedition among women. But I got news for you, bad news for you feminists out there, were you male feminists, female feminists, whoever. In a society like this, what we're reading out right now, you females are going to be are going to snap back in order, and if you aren't, then you're going to learn. This is when that fear starts. See, y'all got liberty right now, but when the real sedition among men and invading one another, what do you mean? What do you think that means, invading one another? This is going into your own country as well. This isn't going to, yeah, it's talking about, country versus country, fine. Yeah, that's most definitely talk about that. But this is talking about in your own country too. So what do you think happens with that? Because watch this. They shall not regard their kings nor their princes. This is why we tell you women, y'all gotta a time limit on to how long y'all can get away with a lot of this stuff. And I'm not making this video about women, you know what I mean? But this all ties into that. The fear that's getting ready to come upon this earth, man. It's going to be no joke. For the men too. They shall not regard their kings nor their princes. Sedition. Not regarding the police. That's what that's talking about. Not regarding their police, the senators, the mayors, the governors, the presidents, the vice presidents. They ain't nobody's going to regard them anymore. Nobody's going to say, going to kneel to 911 anymore. Nobody's going to care about that. So for all you people that solely rely on 911, sure, you use them. You got an emergency. We had to call 911 quite a few times, especially out there at camp. But we understand That 911 is not going to save us. All that stuff is getting ready to be done away with. Like I said, sooner or later, sooner, more than later, people are not going to regard the police. They're not going to regard the laws at all. It says, in the course of their actions shall stand in their power. There's going to be a lot of fear, man. You know, and this guy here, he's the type to come back and mess some stuff up, man. Right? What they say, the beginning of a villain. He's not having it. You saw how pissed off he was. It wasn't until later where the senses came in. It's like, oh, my arm is broken. But you still saw he was pissed off. So these things is just really escalating, man. You know, and that's why we gotta stay prayed up for when these things happen, because this stuff is gonna be something that nobody on this earth has ever experienced. We're telling you this firsthand. Nobody has ever experienced what's getting ready to come upon this earth. I mean, even now, we're in times like never before. Everybody, all the old heads can tell you that it's never been this bad before. So talk about society in general. It's never been this bad before. All this tension, all of this. You know what I mean? But anyway, you know, Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. That's all I got on this. Giving all praise, honor, glory to Yahawah, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, Shalom.